Okay, welcome. I'm Tim Scoggins, Chairman of the Shaftsbury Select Board, and I'm calling this meeting of the Shaftsbury Select Board to order at 6:30 on Monday, October 2nd, 2017. Does any member of the board have a conflict of interest with anything appearing on the agenda this evening?
No.
No? Next up is approval of minutes. We have two sets of minutes. First, our minutes from the meeting on September 18th were circulated. Is there a motion to approve?
I make the motion.
Motion to approve from Art,
Second.
seconded by Ken. Any discussion, additions, or corrections?
I found no problems.
None.
Okay. All in favor of approving the minutes for September 18th, 2017 as circulated, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So those minutes are approved by a vote of 4-0-0. And then we have a short set of minutes from our meeting, our special meeting with Goldstone and MSK on garage bid plans. That was on September 27th. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Art, seconded by Ken. These really just say that we had a wide-ranging discussion about things. We did not take any actions in that meeting.
Yep.
Any more discussion?
No.
No.
All in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
So the minutes for September 27th are approved as circulated by a vote of 4-0-0. Next up is warrants. First I have retirement warrant number 9 in the amount of $6,683.54.
So moved.
Motion to approve from Art,
Second.
seconded by Ken. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
So check warrant number 9, which actually is a retirement warrant in the amount of $6,683.54 is approved 4-0-0.
Thought maybe you had your retirement in there.
Yeah. Didn't think you'd notice that. So next up, I have payroll warrant number 6 in the amount of $17,973.07.
So moved.
Motion to approve from Art,
Second.
seconded by Ken. Any discussion?
No.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
So payroll warrant number 6 in the amount of $17,973.07 is approved 4-0-0. Are these general ledger pages something I need to act on?
No, that was pulled off the back. That should be connected with that piece. I'll
Okay.
take those and
Okay.
put it back together.
And finally, it looks like I have check warrant number 9 in the amount of $19,852.61.
So moved.
Motion to approve from Art,
Second.
seconded by Ken. Items over $1,000, we have $10,000 to David Hosley for September mowing. $1,400.
Does that complete his contract?
Yes.
Thank you.
$1,400 to Otter Creek Engineering.
That's for the asset management grant.
Okay, thank you. $1,100 to Sullivan Powers and Company for audit. $2,700 to Sycamore Landscaping for cemetery mowing. And those are the ones over $1,000. Any more discussion? All in favor of approval say aye.
Aye.
So check warrant number 9 in the amount of $19,852.61 is approved 4-0-0. Are there any announcements?
I think we'll mention it probably later when Melanie is up here, but I just think it's important that we stress that if you're a property owner and did not receive a tax bill, it's your responsibility to find out what your taxes are to pay.
Good point, yes. And that message has been placed on the web as we promised to do last time.
Also, if your taxes went up, don't blame the town, blame the school board.
I'll make an announcement too that I'll be out of the office on Thursday for a meeting in Rutland on water department management, and on Friday for personal business. I will not be here.
Tim?
One other announcement, I wanted to draw people's attention to a meeting at the school on September 10th, 6 p.m. to discuss the Act 46 school consolidation bill and the upcoming vote. We will be going to the polls in Shaftsbury on November 7th. This year, a special election to vote on articles of consolidation, essentially to turn the SU into a district. It's a very important vote, and Shaftsbury's place in that vote has become more important when North Bennington and Pownell both declined to put that to their citizens for a vote. Their school boards declined to put that to their citizens for a vote. So the continued moving forward of this process depends on three towns voting in favor of it. There are 3 left: Bennington, Shaftsbury, and Woodford. And so it's important for everybody to get connected with this issue and understand it. And this meeting on the 10th at the school at 6 p.m. is an important one.
Does the majority vote pull everybody in? If Shasbury voted it down, but Bennington overrides this, does that pull us in?
No. The 3 towns have to approve it.
Okay. Yep.
What time was that? 10,
6 p.m.
6?
Any public comments? I don't see any public out there. Treasurer's report. Melanie Dexter. Welcome.
I'm going to be out of the office on Friday also, and since Marlene does not work on Fridays, I think that means the town offices will be closed. So I don't know.
Okay.
That was going to be put on the
Yeah.
on the website. Did you already?
No, I'm gonna put it on Twitter.
Yeah. Okay.
So that everybody knows.
You've got a to-do for that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I wanted to, I was going to mention, if you have not gotten your tax bill, you really need to get in touch with me. I mentioned that last time too, and I know it's on the website, but I've gotten a couple of calls from people who didn't, who say they didn't receive it. So, once they're mailed, it's out of my hands. So I've done my due diligence, but if you didn't receive them, it's really up to you to find out what you owe. And you do need your tax bill even if you've got an escrow company, because there's information on there that you need when you do your taxes. So you should get them now rather than finding yourself in a spot on April 14th and wishing you had it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a word to the wise too. Okay, so let's see. What is there to say about this? In September, you can see that the taxes really started coming in. We got almost $500,000 in already.
Mm-hmm.
I love it when people spread it out like this rather than waiting until November 9th. This is very good news from my point of view. My office hours will increase as we get closer to the end, but you'll have much more of my attention if you have questions if you come in now. And I have to say that this year, a lot of people, it seems, did not file their homestead declarations, and you really have to do that every year as well as your income declaration. I have had a lot of people who've had to pay the penalty this year, and they say that they didn't know that, or their accountant didn't know it. You got to do it every year, or you pay a pretty hefty penalty. So I hate to see people pay more than they have to. So that's yet another word to the wise. That's the only thing that's going on, really. You can see everything else is pretty quiet. If you want to go down a little bit,
Let me ask you one,
Sure,
or
yes.
verify one thing on the taxes. I put the notice up on the web about the final day being November 10th.
Up 5 PM, it
5
needs to
PM is what I
be
wanted to
in
check.
my
yeah.
hands or postmarked.
Okay,
So they will dribble in, but it needs to be postmarked that day or in my hands. If you put it in the box after I've left, that it doesn't count as on time. It's so, and I will be here until 5 faithfully. So you can try and sneak it past me, but it's not going to work. Mert has already talked to me about that, as you can imagine. So yeah, thank you for bringing that up. It's another good point. So let's see, if you go down a little bit. So as you can, we've got plenty of cash in the bank. I might need to transfer some of that early to the school because they've been having some unusual expenses. So I might do an early transfer. It's not really all our money. A lot of that's going to go to the school. If you see our budget status, it's pretty similar to last year, except we don't have as many prepaid expenses. Is that what's going on?
The big difference there is the major project hasn't been done yet. So as soon as we do Shaftsbury Hollow Road, as soon as I can get some rental trucks, that difference is going to disappear pretty quickly.
Yeah, okay, so right now it looks like our spending is running a little bit behind last year, but that's just a timing issue. I think that's all I have to say. Is there some other point? No, yeah, I just wanted to mention the homestead declaration. That was my only other thing.
okay.
Any questions?
Yeah,
Yeah.
can you briefly just describe where that money goes? If the penalty, if you don't file, you're penalized. Does the town keep that? Does the state have to have
Yes.
some of it or what?
Yes, thank you for asking that. I didn't actually know the answer to that, and
Okay.
I checked the statute. We do keep the penalty money.
Okay,
That's why at the town level, we can vote across the board to waive it or across the board to apply it.
okay,
But it's because it does require a lot of extra handling, both on our part and,
so it does require,
yes,
Okay.
there's additional paperwork required, and also extra bills have to be mailed out, so there's expenses associated with that.
okay? That's whatever, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Melanie.
Okay.
Okay, item 8, road foreman report.
Okay, Steve couldn't be here this evening, a personal matter, so I'll give you a quick rundown of what's been going on lately. There's been a lot of ditching done, 300 feet on LeClaire, 200 feet on Horton Hill. The repair was done at the top of Rollin and Horton Hill by Verix, where it went in there. 50 feet of Rollin's been ditched, 400 feet of Maple and East Road, 200 feet on Simeon Dean. All of Upper Maple and Maple East to Potter Road was bermed off. Grading's been done on all Myers, Horton Hill, LeClaire, Eric, East Road, Murphy Hill. Glastonbury was fixed, Daniels Road and the State Line Road.
Madison was done too.
And Madison too, okay. Spots of Maple were done. The first part of Depot was graded, Perrin Road, Madison's right here. Madison was graded and Old Mill has been graded. Next, maybe even this week, Trumbull Hill, the French drain we're going to put down the middle that the state came up and talked to us about, should be done this week. We're told that paving is almost caught up, so we should have 4 trucks the week after next to do Shaftsbury Hollow. And that'll just be 5 days, and that will absorb a great deal of that difference in the budget you just saw there. And that will conclude the big projects for the year, and they're going to continue on getting the roads ready for winter, which is basically what's going on now. We had one thing we want to do. We've gotten an estimate from Bowden Paving. As you remember, we talked about Quarry Drive earlier, which is kind of breaking up, and we can do that. We're also looking at Elm Street, the south and north end of Lower East Road, off of East Road, because that's all coming apart. And the total for those will be about $10,000. And it came up to me today also at Perrin Acres, where Perrin Road comes into Perrin Acres. The holes there, which I thought were in the dirt part, apparently are also in the paved part. So I talked to Steve this afternoon, and we're going to look at having Bowden go over, because they're going to be at Corey and Elm, and swing over, because they're all kind of small jobs. And maybe make a T out of that, bring it out a little bit each way on Perrin Road. Because what happens, of course, is people are coming off the pavement, accelerating right into the dirt and digging up the holes, coming in, they're breaking, it's the usual thing. Now, we're not going to be able to eliminate the holes, they're just going to be a little further out, but they won't be, I've hit them too, sometimes those get pretty deep. So we're going to see what they say and think about it, but we'll do some kind of fix there. And it may be that we make that a T, just bring it out, pave the whole thing, and then over a little bit on Perrin Road. Like I said, no matter what, wherever you transition, you're going to get some potholes, but hopefully it won't be as bad as these.
Where is that? It's right on Perrin Acres?
Yeah, right when you come out. And they do. At times they come out. I didn't realize that a couple of them, I was told today, are actually where it was paved. And someone's throwing dirt in it, so I guess I always thought it was dirt. So we'll clean that up. But if we just fix it there, we're going to have the pothole right here. So, because it's just going to be doing the same thing a foot over. So we'll look at, like I said, maybe making a little T there to just spread it a little further away. Because once you accelerate and you're out, you're not getting the real grinding, hopefully. But those, in part, will all come in just around 10,000, and Bowden's given us the estimate, so I'd like to just go ahead with that. Because it's really Bowden does the work, and the pavement comes from Peckham, and there's nobody else around.
Dave, have you got, remember the other day I talked to you about Myers Road, that
Yes.
ditch? Is that on your schedule to be graded or cleaned this year?
I have to talk to Steve about that. I did not ask him. I did not ask him if that was on the schedule. I was more concerned with.
Well, I just would have, once you get your grade
Yeah.
done,
Yeah.
before it snows.
Yeah, I think we're getting caught up in a lot of areas, and once we get the main things done, the main event, which is still getting Shaftsbury Hollow done, then you can have a ditching crew, you can have a brushing crew, and then we can have people over cutting down trees at the transfer station. So I think we're making pretty good progress into getting everything lined up correctly. The Trumbull Hill project is actually pretty small.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal, just need the time to do it. So we'll see, I'm sure that's a part we can get in. And there's a lot of ditching to be done townwide, but I think we're getting a lot of it done now.
And the Perrin Acres, would it be better to extend that blacktop to stop that, or to shorten it? In other words, so that they're not turning when they're coming off the blacktop.
Well, that's what I mean by, when I talked to Steve today, that's why we were talking when you're coming out, we would extend it off in each direction, I don't know how many feet, but wide enough to stop that churning when you go around.
Because when they're turning, they're gonna dish
Yeah.
that.
But if you trim it up into Perrin Acres, you're just gonna get all that stuff all the way up. You have to take it away from when they're turning each direction.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't even think that would be very expensive, but we don't have a price on that yet. But if it relieves some of the problem there, because we don't have any major paving project this year because we can't do one without a state grant. We didn't
Well,
do
you're
it.
always gonna have a problem coming off a blacktop going on a.
Absolutely.
Anyway.
It's not gonna completely get rid of the pothole issue
Right.
there, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Because, but you'll have people who are already accelerating out, and when they straighten up, they're gonna leave right away. And hopefully, the braking will be done a good chunk off the
Yeah.
dirt part too again, so. But every foot you do with paving, as you well know, is pretty expensive, so
Yeah.
we'll see how far we can go. It certainly won't be much past the top of the road.
Maybe you could remind folks what the plan is for Shaftsbury Hollow?
Shaftsbury Hollow is basically, it was worked on several years back. The fabric is coming through the surface of the road in a stretch of road much longer than we originally thought. So it is going to take about 5 days and about $70,000 in materials to fix this. It's quite a large stretch that needs to be repaired. And it does need to be done. We moved it to almost like a priority one because it's at the bottom of the road and there's no other way in or out. So we'll get that done before the snow. We would have had it done already, but there's so much paving delayed because of all the rain this year that we can't get the trucks we need. Because once you get, when we rent the 4 trucks, everything keeps going. And a bulldozer we're gonna rent too, to smooth out the stone as they lay it, because it just works better.
Is it going to require new fabric or just material?
Oh yeah, new fabric, material, everything.
Mhm.
So we'll have a compact vibrator, and a bulldozer rental, 4 truck rentals, and a lot of material.
The truck and the bulldozer are from the same rental company, or?
We usually get a fairly good price from the local excavators for the vibratory roller. The bulldozer, I don't know where they intend to search for that, but I have to find out. But usually we could get pretty good rates for those things.
Can you rent one of those off a local contractor?
That's what we do whenever we rent a roller. You know, we get it from Mahar or somebody else who has
Yeah.
one. Depends on what we get. I don't know exactly who has bulldozer for the local contractors. I'm leaving that up to them to find. You know, but it shouldn't be a big deal. The worst comes to worst, call Perks and drive one over, pop one down. I think that's all I have for the road foreman.
Okay. Anything else on roads? Okay, item 9, grant for,
Actually, I'm
you
sorry.
did have something?
I did have something. I was talking with some people in North Bennington about the Shaftsbury Bank Street. Remember those small kid asked about the sidewalk, why there's not one that goes out there. Well, anyway, the mother and the child both were saying to me that, well, it's just a concern because I answered the question for him. I said, well, I found out why, because there's not enough pedestrian traffic. And he goes, but people really speed and it's dangerous to walk. And I said, well, the best I can do is see if we can get, a sheriff maybe to come down and take a look and see what's going on. But they said there's a lot of, fast traffic moving down that road. So,
yeah, it's always a struggle to keep the traffic at 25 miles an hour on that road.
Yeah.
I drive there every day, several times a day, and I'm the only person I ever see driving 25 on that road. It's a struggle. Yeah, we can ask the sheriff to swing by there again, but
well, and I also asked,
it
I said,
works
is it
for
the
a
same
few
people?
days.
Do you see the same people doing? She said, well, yeah, there's local people, whatever, that live within the area. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's the same people, full throttle flying through. So, but yeah. So we should probably get some attention down there.
okay.
So just a few people need to be reminded of the speed limit.
Yeah, I can see if I can get the sheriff to head over that way. We get the speed sign over there, remind people of what to do.
Did you ever find out about where our new speed signs are for that road?
For White Creek?
Yeah.
No. They were supposed to be up before the winter. They're not up, right? No. I'll check with the state.
Not
It's-
as of a week ago. I didn't notice. Too.
Yeah. I mean, it's just one of those projects that is in the hopper for them, and as they get around to it.
Okay, but we're still on the list.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right, well, we can't really complain that our free signs are not coming fast enough, can we? So-
It is kind of long, though. I mean, that was signed a couple of years back because they were paving, and it was supposed to be done. But I got a notice last year that it was going to be this year. So I don't. It is the longest agreement ever. Oh, just to digress for a moment, we talked about having the sheriff do traffic over here so I left a message for the sheriff today that we were interested in having our contract time from 2:45 to 3:15 to have someone over here, and I haven't had a response yet, so
Okay.
we'll see what he says
Okay,
about
yeah,
it.
just to be clear, what we were asking is that the sheriff put a deputy out there to direct traffic from 3 to 3:15, just to help people along. That backs up all the way back to the school. People can't even get out of the parking lot sometimes. one guy out there for 15 minutes would get people out and off to soccer practice a lot faster. So we're not asking them, directing the deputies in any other regards except the occasional, try to give a ticket on Bank Street from time to time, which we regularly do. So let's see how that pans out. Okay, item 9 is about a stormwater master plan grant.
We submitted a grant today to the state to produce a stormwater master plan. Act 60 requires us to have a master plan for all stormwater. This is a $20,000 grant with a $2,800 match for the town, which will be consumed by my time and Steve's time and a truck. And basically it's an engineering study to try and prioritize and categorize what we have to do to meet this requirement from the state. So it'll be done through BCRC, and it's just a good grant, and I hope we get it. $20,000 at somebody's time to develop this for us would be well worthwhile. And considering the large number of miles we have of gravel roads, and the state on their website has the roads that are connected to different waterways in like pink or something, almost our entire town is that color. So it's clear we need help, and if they really want us to get to this, they need to help us identify and prioritize what we're going to do. We already have 2 Better Roads grants to do work along those lines. One on Tinkham we're going to do, and again, way up at the top end of the Shaftsbury Hollow that we're going to do as soon as we get a chance to do them. We have until the end of next year to do them, but as soon as we can get to them, we will.
What do they want you to do with this? As far as how are you supposed to control the water?
Well, a lot of it gets back to basics: to clean your ditches, to crown your roads, to cut back brush. A lot of it is really just, look, this is a problem. When we do Tinkham, it's just grade it this way, make a ditch here, put a culvert in over here. But with 50 miles and a deadline that was supposed to meet this, you have to have some kind of prioritized system so that if we come up to the date, we can say, look, we've been doing this as quick as we can, but most towns don't have 50 miles of gravel roads. And,
You can't run a ditch directly into a brook. It would have to go into a settling pond
yeah,
and all that sort of stuff. So someone's going to ride around and they're going to look at every ditch
yeah.
and make sure it doesn't go into a brook, or if there is, there's a filtration system and all
Yeah.
that sort of stuff.
Yep, it has to go through, there's a whole series of rules, which again helps us by having one of their paid people go around and write down each road. This is what you have to look at. This connects here and you need filtration, or you have to put a culvert. This has to be diverted. And that'll just make the whole process easier for us. And again, prioritize, we can start working down the list.
And are you saying the $2,800 could be your time and Steve's time taking him around?
Taking him around, the
Okay.
engineer around to do it.
Yep.
And
okay.
then, as we discuss things, then they'll write up the plan. And then I hope to find some money to implement the plan. Because I have a feeling it's going to be expensive for a town like ours.
Absolutely.
I mean, the 2 we already
lay
have.
out what each one of these ditches or whatever's got to
Yeah,
be,
it'll
the way it's got to be built and everything.
discuss the town and the roads and what the big problems are and what should be done to correct them. I mean, that's a big boost for us. And then I'll say, look, as you look at a prioritization table, it's like, these are the ones you should get to. Because as the clock's ticking and we get down to this, and we have 50 miles to do, at least we can say, hey, we haven't been ignoring this. I've already backlogged 2 jobs, I must say, but we've already gotten that might be $30,000 in grants to do those 2 jobs. So hopefully there's going to be more out there, because every town's going to have this problem. We just have a lot more than most.
It isn't just towns. I mean, farmers have been already.
Oh yeah. And if you're up in the Champlain Valley, and they're all over you, yeah. We're almost. I mean, that started to address the issue up there and to equalize it statewide. I mean, it's down to us. I don't see any great problem here, but we're going to have to meet all these standards. So it's just good to have some funding from the state to do it. Okay. So I'll keep you posted on that one as it comes in. The other one we just finished is the mulcher grant application, which is part of the same program, which is to buy a $5,000, $5,600 mulcher. The town's cost will be $560. It's, what you use that for is when we do the ditching, you seed and hay it using the mulcher, which is so much faster than any other way.
Is that the same mulcher that you sent the photo out of?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yep,
okay,
yep. Yeah, it's just, it got delayed a little bit there.
Mhm.
So we'll have that to do.
So what's the status of these two grants?
They're both in process. They've all been signed. I wrote the letters of support and sent them in. And Jim Henderson and I just worked on that first one between Friday and today.
So we're in the application stage?
Yeah, so everything's up in Montpelier and we're just waiting. Hopefully we'll get the grants. We're pretty sure we're gonna get the mulcher. Actually, we're pretty sure we're gonna get both because, like I said, again, we have tons of gravel roads. We have a real need to do this. We're gonna be made to meet these standards.
So is some of the gravel that's washed away, is that done by any underground, like springs or anything like that that are,
I'm sorry,
the dirt roads when they get washed away? Is it from underground springs bringing water up as well?
some are. If you look at Trumbull Hill, where we're talking about putting the French drain down the middle, it seems like the water comes right up through the middle of the road. So the French drain will be down, I forget how many feet now, off the top of my head. And it runs into this and will run down, and then we're gonna angle it over to a culvert on the side. Because during the winter, in the spring, you can actually see where it's softest and wettest right down the middle. So we took the state engineer up there and he thought, yeah, there's probably his spring like right under the middle of this road.
So did they do a hydrology study or?
Well, I wouldn't call it a hydrology study. Best practice, you look at an issue and try and address it that way. And the French drain works the best. And it's a pretty simple thing. It's stone, wrapped stone with a pipe through the middle and you can run it down off the side. And we address it the other way, like on East Road, with these stone blankets that are much wider. They're 8 feet wide and they run across the road. And it's just a way to give water, water will,
shed it away.
least path,
Of resistance.
and
That's right.
it'll just bring it across the road. And when we first put them in, I haven't been up in a couple of weeks. I mean, one started pooling on one side, but it was pouring out the other side. And now it's leveled off and you can see the water running out the other side already. So,
So it works.
yeah, they do work. We'll see how the winter goes. That's always the key.
The
You know,
test
it's
of
the mud
time,
season,
yeah.
but we'll see how it works. This one, and they'll be back to see how it works. And if we need to put in another one a few feet down, they'll figure that out for us. So, yeah, water and dirt doesn't mix.
Again, I want to commend you, though, for tapping into that resource of expertise at the state in looking at all of these problems, these hydrology problems, water flow problems that we've been having during mud season, and
Yeah,
getting state people with a lot of expertise out here to
yeah.
give us free
They're there.
advice on how to fix them.
Yeah, they're there, and it's the same thing starting over at Brownells where that was sinking. You just need some experience and some eyes, and people who have seen this before somewhere else, and it can be done. We have the equipment, we have the personnel who can do it. Just need the plan to get it going.
Keeping them involved is important.
Yes.
Because sometimes you get moved up on the list a little bit faster.
Yeah,
If they know you're playing with them.
Right.
yeah, it is important. It's important to have a relationship with them. It helps when you need things.
Mm-hmm.
Frustrating sometimes, though.
Yes.
Okay, next, Bennington County Solid Waste Alliance. We are warning an ordinance change, taking out the reporting requirements on the
Yes.
haulers.
At the last meeting of the solid waste group, all the haulers have objected to Article 7, which doesn't state, but it has requirements for reporting on quantities of municipal solid waste, organics, and mandated recyclables collected on a quarterly basis, was to be reported to the Solid Waste Association of the county. We have no use for the data. They report all this to the state anyway. But when we set this up, this was a state requirement that we have this. We've listened to the halls, and unanimously, we decided we really don't need this information. So we want to just change, it's a minor change to the entire ordinance, but we have to go through the whole process of the board adopting this change and dropping Article 7's requirements for reporting on quantities of municipal solid waste, organics, and mandated recyclables on a quarterly basis. And then we'll have to read that 3 times for the next 3 meetings. I have to publish the change in the newspaper and an explanation posted in 5 places around town. And then somewhere off in 60 days hence, it'll be adopted after a period of time where people can appeal the change. But it's very minor. It affects really nothing except it reduces unnecessary paperwork and expenses on the part of the haulers.
Did we make a motion last meeting, or does it have to be?
I brought it up last meeting just to get it going, but we need to formalize it this meeting.
Okay, I make a motion that we stricken Article number 7. Is that simple enough?
Yep, we have a motion from Art to strike Article 7 from our solid waste, Bennington County Solid Waste Alliance ordinance,
Second.
and a second by Ken. Any discussion?
I would just like to say, strike Article 7 specifically, and I'll put this in the minutes. We're going to strike this line. Haulers and facilities shall report on the quantities of municipal solid waste, organics, and mandated recyclables collected in the town for each preceding quarter on April 15th, July 15th, October 15th, and January 15th of each year on forms to be provided by the town. So we won't repeal the entire article because there's another part of it, but that sentence we're going to repeal.
Okay,
Okay.
all right, so that's my motion.
Okay. So we have a motion from Art to repeal the sentence in Article 7 that requires quarterly reporting from the haulers. And it's seconded by Ken.
Yep.
Any more discussion?
No.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So by a vote of 4-0-0, we have voted to strike the sentence in Article 7 of the Solid Waste Alliance that requires quarterly reporting by the haulers to the town. And as you pointed out, they still report to the state.
They still report to the state.
If we need to know, we call the state.
Yeah. And we get these documents anyway because this doesn't eliminate our agreement with TAM that delivers a pile of information to us anyway, because we jointly run the transfer station and then we report that to the state sends it back to us, so there's more paper going around about who's collecting what.
Okay.
Yep. All that paper's keeping the haulers in business.
More recycling.
That's right. Goes around, right? It's like that.
All right. Item 12, you're going to give us an update on coal hall improvements?
Actually, there isn't any update. I was hoping we'd have the environmental back, but we don't yet, so we won't make any move until we receive that.
But we can remind folks that we are planning this year to make major improvements to the interior of Coal Hall to turn it into a usable office space, which it just is not right now.
Yep, and again, we're going to put a ceiling on this room and divide it into a meeting area out here with an office back here, workstation over there, and 2 offices behind me here where the listers and the zoning administrator are now. So it will not be this way. However, because I do have people come in saying it's a magnificent space, why don't we restore it? It's simply because we'll never have the money to restore it. But if somewhere down the line, the town wishes to do that, everything we're going to do can simply be taken down. There'll be a hanging drop ceiling and just 2x4s that can be pulled up and you'll have the same space back again. But right now, for the foreseeable future, we will not be restoring this. And if we did, we would still need an office building because we need the space.
Yeah, we can't restore it to a church
Yeah, meeting
auditorium.
Yeah.
That's what we have now, and it's not usable as office space.
And even if we restore it to a meeting hall, the engineer's report says we'll have to redo the flooring.
Subfloor.
The subfloor, because it's not strong enough to have a large meeting in. So it's a no-win all the way around, so. It'll just be lighter up here with fewer people and fewer file cabinets, which is supposed to be off this floor, and we'll just make it work.
You'll probably see a really big, difference in heating with the drop ceiling.
Yeah, there's all kinds of things that will have some implications to it. We'll be able to control the heat more, make this
Very more. It'll be
a lot
efficient.
more manageable during the summertime. It won't be like it was the last meeting, 87 degrees up here during the meeting. It doesn't have to be refrigerated like an icebox, but a couple of portable air conditioners would change it completely in a tighter compartment. So.
Okay, 13 is town garage update.
The update is really just a little discussion of the meeting we had with MSK, the town's engineers, and Goldstone, the town's architects. The meeting basically centered around legalese and what wording should be changed in the American Institute of Architects standard draft document. We need to alter it somewhat. We kind of have a hybrid project here from construction to design build. So we discussed with the architect wording that needed to be changed, which has gone off to our attorney. The other discussions were simply on timelines for when we're going to put it out to bid. We're moving some of those off as we wait for some permits to change things from the state. There's a lot of state permits involved in this building. So none of which is a problem, it's just timing. And we discussed moving the bid date back to January, just to make it more palatable to potential contractors.
That's bid opening.
Bid opening, sorry, bid opening.
Bid
not,
opening.
Yeah, not putting the bid out, bid opening, yes, correct. So Goldstone is working on a new timeline for us. MSK is finishing up their projects and we'll be at the DRB Wednesday, where we have the hearing for the conditional use plan, I guess it is. Sorry, the title escapes me. And then it's just really procedural. We're just moving along from there. So I think we're pretty much set. But nothing, there were no votes or anything taken at that meeting. It was really just so the board could be brought up to date in person by the architects and the engineers. And they're finalizing the bid documents, and this is part of the process. We'll just be getting some input from us on it.
And I would just remind folks that we are putting out a bid for a general contractor, and that the building is part of that. It will be responsibility of the general contractor to provide the building. We've specified that we want something like the Morton building or an equivalent, and we have a process in place whereby a contractor can, before the final bid is put in, demonstrate an equivalent building system, and if it's approved, then any of the general contractors who bid can either use the Morton that we know about or one that is deemed by us and the engineers and architects at Goldstone and MSK to be equivalent.
We also asked that local contractors be considered for some of the electrical, plumbing, concrete work and all that sort of stuff.
Correct. That is
Because if they work with the general contractor who will be bonded, they don't have to be bonded unless they have an agreement with the general contractor.
Which is an important part. You remind me that Goldstone had mentioned that there will be a list available from them of whoever takes out bid packages, so that an electrician or a plumber could contact one of the GCs and make an offer to the GC to be a sub. So, yeah, that's right. That's a good point.
Yep.
all right. Item 14 is a request for proposal on cleaning services at Cole Hall.
I took out the 47 pages I accidentally included the last time. It's a problem when you're
The
editing
global
state
warming
grants.
stuff that
Yeah.
the janitor has to worry about. Yeah.
This is pretty much straightforward. It's a little lengthy, 7 pages, but the problem we have now is, A, we don't have any contract at all. We don't have any agreement. The gentleman's service has been provided here for, I don't even know how many years. He was here when I started. So what I want to do is just formalize this into this is what's expected. There's parts of this building that need to be cleaned on a more regular basis, and It just specifies this is what you need to do, because you can't really enforce something that's not written out. And this way, if this isn't done, or we run into a problem, look, you have a contract, this will be for 2 years, renewable for 2 more if we're not having an issue with anybody. It's really just like straight out of the state's contracts. Just simple things like the one up there, stock the restrooms. Performance standard, okay, stock the restrooms. That way, if we come in and nothing's there, or we have giant cobwebs in the corner, it's like, you're supposed to have done this. These floors, this floor, I don't think has been, as clean as it should have been for many years. And if we're gonna be here, which we're certainly gonna be for a long time to come, it's time, it's part of just facility maintenance, whether it's painting the outside or the inside or whatever. Someone keeping it clean is important, and it's just things that should be done. These floors should be buffed up every now and then. The carpets downstairs should be shampooed every now and then, and it just has a little timetable. This is what you need to do, and if it's not done, we have recourse. It's just, a simple thing. It's a little lengthy, but it's a simple thing, just to be able to go back and say, hey, it's March, how come this wasn't done? And I know some services have sent us inquiries about doing the building. It'll probably be a little bit more expensive than what's going on now, but on the other hand, I expect to get a lot more out of it. I mean, we all spend time cleaning here too, so, and like I said, if we're gonna do things and make this the town office, it should look clean and professional when people come into it.
Yep. Okay, I wanted to tell people about a Senate police coverage forum that Art and I went to last week. There was a bit of a scare that came out of VLCT about this Senate Bill 27 that said it was going to require police coverage in every town. And when we got there, we found out from Senator Jeanette White, yes, thank you, that bill has actually been on the docket for 3 years. It's kind of an ongoing issue. They know that some towns don't like the way the state police coverage is used by some of the smaller towns, but it's not like they just came up with this idea of forcing us to create a police force. So the discussion was about uneven police coverage and disparities between towns like Manchester, which has a police force, and towns like Shaftsbury and a whole lot of others, it sounded like from our discussion, who rely on the state police and a contract with the sheriff for their police coverage. The real problem, it seemed to be, was that the state police at times are just spread too thin. More funding for state police would solve that, but then money solves a lot of problems, and there's the rub. There was a lot of talk about regional coverage, and it was generally agreed that more funding for the sheriff is one way to deal with that problem. It was an interesting discussion, but by no means as worrisome as we thought.
Yes.
But it did get us to a meeting that we probably wouldn't have gone to otherwise, and did have some good discussion there about police coverage.
Yeah, it's quite interesting, the numbers that were floating around that it cost a town that does have a police department, such as Manchester, Fairhaven, I think, and Rutland. They're talking $300 to $500 per person, not per taxpayer. This is per person. So that is a huge amount of money that is required to maintain a police department. And when these towns when these taxpayers in these towns pay this much money, and then they look at Shaftsbury that doesn't spend anywhere near that, it's not equal. And so this is what the talk is about. But yet, to have Shaftsbury contract with Bennington, I think would cost us a huge amount of money, because I think they're going to want the $300 to $500 per person, because to bring that over, even though they already have some of the brick and mortar there and all that sort of stuff, but, and I really could not see what the advantage of some town hiring the state police, paying them extra. Would the state police then be able to get another person in their barracks by doing that, or
Yeah.
what? I couldn't quite figure that one out.
It's mostly like overtime. Like
Overtime.
Londonderry, I forget how many hours they were contracting out. But yeah, it's not, okay, this guy's coming off his regular patrol shift and he's gonna be in Londonderry because they're paying us. No, it's extra duty pay. And that's why it's a pretty high rate.
Because they,
Yeah, because it's like overtime.
that's right.
You know, I'm gonna go patrol here for the day. Yeah, it gets very, very expensive, and I wouldn't doubt those numbers at all. Law enforcement's always very expensive.
Yep.
I mean, I thought before of the Bennington Police and what kind of agreement, joint meeting could Shaftsbury and Bennington have to maybe look to increasing the size of their force, but getting some enforcement up here. But yeah, you're talking money, and at the same time, you're paying taxes for a state police force.
That's right.
And the
That's-
state police are, in my humble opinion, understaffed.
Yep.
And the state should, and you know, as a citizen of the state myself, I think the state should be giving them more money and hiring more troopers. But, you know, Bennington's and Manchester's police issues are also brought about by the fact that they're bigger towns, clearly, and they have thriving business districts, mainly Manchester and that. And, you know, there's a little inequity of expecting, you know, a town that doesn't have that to be subsidizing them also. It's a tough call, but I think the solution, see, we need a trooper right now. Thank you, that was a nice sound effect. But, you know, if the answer might just be, we need more troopers at the state level.
Or it was came out very clear that the sheriff's department is really not a law enforcement entity paid for by the state. They don't get any state money
No.
other than what work they do for the state, which is transporting service. So they're a business trying to maintain equity here,
And it's difficult to do, and,
Yeah.
and, you know, if we can keep increasing our hours with them, but it doesn't really, what you need is a couple more troopers in the back, so there's more
Yes.
coverage in the county, so that, you know, they can be there, and it's fine, they'll respond to Bennington when Bennington needs trouble, they'll respond to Manchester, Whitehall, and, but the answer is only that way.
yeah.
You can't you already have a police agency that can bring everything you need in the state police. Creating another one is just more resources being
No, you're
duplicated
right.
administratively
That's
and
right.
everything.
It kind of sounds like somebody's gonna cook up an idea, let the towns bail the state out for more police.
No, I don't think that would ever sell.
No.
Most of the state is still in small rural communities.
So rural, that's right.
Yeah, and, you know, I don't know of a state in the country, I mean, even New Jersey, all of the rural counties are patrolled by the state police.
Yeah.
Individual towns might have, you know, the bigger individual towns out in Warren and Sussex and that would have a police department, but the state police are out there. I mean, and that should definitely be the primary law enforcement agency in this state.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's just.
Yeah, and the point of this forum was, you know, is there a big enough problem that, you know, something needs to be done about it? And, you know, from Shaftsbury's point of view, you know, we don't have a big crime problem. Manchester would probably like to see us pay more, but from our point of view, that's not a problem, so.
I think some serious discussion when our contract comes up with the sheriff's department as to what do we really get? Is it just traffic control, or can we call you if there's a vandalism to investigate a vandalism? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
I've had the sheriff take a vandalism thing, I've had the trooper take a vandalism thing. But frankly, 90% of the time where I need to pick up the phone and ask for law enforcement, I'm gonna get a trooper, because in our hours,
That's right.
I mean, we have 20 hours out of the week. I mean, it's hit or miss.
Yeah, okay.
I'm just hoping we can get to have a guy over here on the corner for when we want him. I mean, that's not decided yet, so.
Yeah, what we did learn there is that or it was news, I learned it, I sort of suspected it, but our sheriff is here 20 hours a week, 16 hours a week.
Yeah.
They report in to 911 dispatch where they are,
Supposed to.
and it sounds like it usually happens. If it doesn't, it was a mistake if it doesn't happen. But the only time a sheriff investigates 911 is if they happen to be doing their Shaftsbury hours during the time when there's a
Yeah.
call.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it goes to the state police.
Yeah, and even those are tiered by what type of call it is.
Yes, that's right.
Like the 911 center is not going to dispatch a sheriff first. I mean, they're going to dispatch a trooper depending on the type of call it is.
Interesting, okay.
I mean, you know, if there's a sheriff right in town, yeah, he's going to go, but the main investigative agency on anything of weight is going to go to the state police.
Because of training,
Yeah,
training levels,
yeah, and resources.
yes. Okay.
I mean, if you have, and, you know, blessedly, we don't have many, but if you have a serious crime, you're gonna want the state police investigating it. So, you know, if you have a fender bender, well, let's say a car accident, the sheriff's in town, yeah, he's gonna come first. And maybe, I don't even know if they do accidents, to tell you the truth. But, you know, basically we hire them to fly the flag and do some radar. And I read the timesheets, they come every month, and, you know, they work a bunch of varied times, which is nice. There's no real predictability in it. And some guys will work for an hour, some guys will work for 6 hours. So, you know, it's a whole mixed bag of everything in times.
Okay.
You know, but the effectiveness, you know, I'm not so sure. The cost of moving it up, or looking to hire a trooper to work X number of hours here, I mean,
Don't know.
yeah, it's a big question.
It is.
And on the other hand, what Tim said is completely true. We're not exactly overwhelmed with crime here either, so.
That's right, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. The other one, let's see, item 16, website redesign. I wanted to just bring you up to speed. I am working on that. We've had website redesign on our to-do list for several years, and it never seemed to bubble up to the top, but we're actually working through it now, and I've actually gotten to the point of putting out bids on redesign. I feel strongly that we should change the format, the back end of how our web is designed. Right now it's hard-coded, written in HTML and PHP for people that know what that means. Nowadays, websites are designed using something called a content management system, so that you can drag and drop and change colors and fonts and stuff like you do in a PowerPoint slide, as opposed to having to type it in and put the tags on, the brackets and all that stuff that change the colors and all of that. And so I've talked to our current web host, Websites and More. Jen does not work in WordPress and didn't volunteer any other content management system. So, we'd already talked about what a redesign from her would cost. That was about $2,700. Another one is Spectrum Design in Bennington. Jonah Spivak there is Chamber of the Commerce, president of the Chamber of Commerce, and I've been working with him on economic development stuff. I know that he has a web design service, and he's given me a quote of $1,600 to $2,000 to do it. And then our IT guys, Rob Stewart, recommended a lady in Manchester, Riley Moore Studios, and I'm expecting a more formal quote for her. We've talked on the phone, and hers is also right around $2,000. So really, they're all in the same ballpark. It's going to come down really to looking at examples of their design and deciding, who we think is going to provide the content and the responsiveness that we want. But I just wanted to let you know that that's moving along.
Right.
Any other business? Okay. I don't think I caught any action items for tonight. Dave, what were you saying you already had on your to-do list that?
I was just gonna post the adjusted hours for this coming Thursday and Friday.
Okay, right.
I'll mention one thing. I'm going to a seminar on managing small water systems because as we transition out. And I have gotten a very aggressive estimate for taking over the water system from a private contractor that would be very competitive with everything we're doing. So I have to go through it and get it out to the board, but we did get a response, and it's very interesting. So I'll get that out to the board. It just came today, but looks like overall it could reduce cost for the entire water system.
Relative to having the crew?
Well, the crew would always be like the backstop, but this does everything from the monthly testing, monthly work allotted to do those simple things like the valves and all this other stuff that needs to be worked on, billing, water shut-offs, collection duties, everything. And it comes in very, very low. If there was a break, they would send their specialist, their expert down who has the license. This is a statewide company. And to save money, because like for us, it might be a guy, their contract might want to come down from Rutland, where I can keep, like David, in his license, and go get the backhoe and go get a dump truck, and they'll have their expert there who can, work through the system with David. I think it would always be important to keep somebody here licensed on the system.
So they're doing this in other towns or other?
This
other
particular
departments?
company does it in Castleton, Chester, Putney, and kind of a laundry list of other
So
small
they have a
water
track
systems.
record
Yeah,
and somebody we can
yeah.
call.
So I'm still looking into it, but there's an option out there on the table that might solve our dilemma.
Certainly is interesting.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I really,
We can't be a specialist in everything.
right.
Yeah,
And I really like the idea of a contractor doing collections, quite frankly, putting Dave, as a
yeah.
citizen of the town in the position of having to go next door and tell his neighbor that he's got to turn his water off. It's a
Yeah.
really rough thing to have to
And
do.
I think this has a lot of potentials. And one of the reasons I'm going to this course is because it's still coming down to, Jim right now is the only one who knows about aspects of this, and Jim and I have been talking, and so I'm gonna go up and get educated in parts of it so that we have some redundancy.
Yep.
Does Dave need to be going to this too?
No, I don't think so. This one isn't, he's still getting his license. Let's let him get his license. And then we'll move on to something
One step
else.
at a time.
I don't think Dave needs another book.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll let him get his license first, and then we'll really throw him under the cars bus. Yeah. But yeah.
Okay. Well, looking back at our last set of action items, Bob Moffett brought up that there was a discrepancy with his property on, and where 911 might be telling people where to go. We were going to try to look into that. I haven't done anything about it yet.
Yeah, we've looked into it. We're working with the state now. It's an interesting problem that they're kind of puzzling over too, because there's no road. There's no cell service. So what I asked them to consider was allowing us to identify the corners of lots and designate that as the 911 address. So if you go up, what is the name of that thing? Sleepy Hollow Lane or
Sleepy
something?
Hollow, yes.
Which deteriorates into a little pathway.
Yeah.
At least it would be, as it comes up on the 911 viewer, at least you'd see it going up Shaftsbury Hollow. Now, some of these are quite large things, so if I can get you to the lot, you're gonna have to work with the guy, and it might take, a technical rescues team to actually find the person on there. If he had some accidents anywhere on his, 50, 100 acre lot, at least you'd be on the lot.
While you're talking to him, when I punch in my 911 address, I say 40 Cold Spring Road, and I
Yes.
say, in my Garmin, and I say, and it asks for, goes to the next, where it automatically knows roughly where I am. It'll say 40 Cold Spring Road, North Bennington,
Yes.
which is my mailing address, not my physical address. So I think we've got to find out why that's coming up like that.
Garmin does it that way, and all these satellite users will do it that way because they'll work off your postal address.
Yep.
I'll do it right now for you, except I can't link up to the server. I'll check your address because the state system should always show Shaftsbury.
Okay,
The 911 system isn't done the same way as Garmin is.
okay.
Because that can be confusing. I mean,
Yeah,
it is
that's right.
confusing, all these North Bennington
It
things
is.
that are in Shaftsbury. But let me check that. I remember you mentioning that. Because it should come up Shaftsbury. Otherwise, the other good thing is, of course, you know, if you're running the laptop in the car or the fire truck or whatever, it's going to basically show you where you're going. You know, I don't know what the capabilities of the cars are around here, but, you know, if you have a tough book in the car, it should lead you right there, but I'll check that.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, we promised that we would put a notice on the website about taxes being due and your responsibility as a taxpayer to know that they're due, whether or not you get a bill. That is up on the web as promised. Mr. Moffett also mentioned that there was some discrepancy perhaps in the website relative to mailing address and the post office box. And when I went through it, it looked like it looked fine to me.
Yeah.
That we have, anywhere we reference mailing, we put the post office box. I think the only place we just have 61 Buck Hill is where we have the phone number.
Mm-hmm.
And so anytime it's like to contact us, it has the post office box up at the header where it's, you know, here's our phone number,
Yeah.
here's our address. If you just want to drive by, then it just shows Buck Hill. So I think it's fine.
Yeah, that's the only place I noticed it.
Yeah. Let's see, we were going to see if we could figure out where the dividing line between Arlington and Bennington rescue squads is
So
in
that's a work in
Shaftsbury.
progress.
Okay.
Going to have another discussion on Wednesday night about it. I won't be having it, but I have people who are going to discuss that Wednesday night to see
Okay.
if anybody knows what the history of that is. Well, although, you know, I point out one thing in the question of having, like, moving this line and thinking that's going to guarantee you ALS service from Bennington. It is not. Because if their ALS is out on a transport, you're getting what's available. So I don't know if there's even any validity to being first or second, because again, you prioritize. If you're having a heart attack and their ALS unit is available, it would certainly be responding to, if needed. You know, and during the daytime, you know, there are qualifications in Manchester and Arlington and Bennington, but as I was listening to the different levels of crews that he may or may not have on in Bennington, but if that one's off on a transport somewhere or on its other emergency call, there's just not any guarantee of moving that line's a magic pill that you're going to get. I mean, I've never known that to be true anywhere.
I don't think that, my mind wasn't whether or not you would get serviced. I think it was more of how much money do we pay Arlington, and therefore how much money do we pay?
Oh, I agree. I think that's why we went to
That's-
Bennington
that's
last
why
year.
That's why I think that.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody's not ever going to get serviced if we move the line or anything else
Yeah.
like that. I don't think that's a problem. It's just was more of a money thing than I
Yeah.
sensed it.
Yeah, because the volume is definitely lower on the Arlington end.
Yep.
I mean, they're not responding to as many because, I mean, face it, it's just the north end of the town.
Sure.
So Bennington is definitely taking more calls there, which I think is one of the things we try to address by upping their money last year.
Yes.
Because we really had been, if you look at it that way, we really had been underpaying them for
Yes.
years.
Oh, there's no doubt. Yep.
But then I'll let the board decide whether we're going to go the full route that they want to. But, you know, yeah, the actual availability of the unit that would be best for your case, I don't think anybody's solved that anywhere. I mean,
No.
I work in big areas, and if the ALS truck is out, you best be getting them in the BLS truck and get moving, you know?
Okay.
Did we ever find out what the percentage of the overdose calls were for Shaftsbury? Or
I don't know, and I don't know how much they can actually address that, but we could ask them.
Yeah, I asked, what was his name, Forrest?
Forrest, yeah, Forrest, yeah.
Yeah, I asked him before, and he didn't really have a number, but I thought he said he was gonna get back with us on that.
I can check in with him, see if he has it.
Just curious, I wanna know,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's a loose figure too, because there can be things that are recorded that are not, you know, there are overdoses of lots of things and accidental overdoses
Sure,
and everything else.
sure. Yeah, when I asked him, I mean, I was generalizing, but then he became more specific, said, do you mean opioid? And
Yeah.
I was like, well, I
If
guess.
you're talking
if that's what
Narcan
you wanna
application,
do.
you can probably find out how many Narcan cases there are.
That's expensive stuff from what I
Oh, it's
understand.
very expensive stuff.
What specifically were you wanting to know?
Oh, what percentage of calls they have when they come to Shaftsbury were overdose cases? And it was just in general, but like I said, he pretty much, nailed it down to opioid, and I said, well, that would be fine to know that too.
Okay. And then the other items we took care of, we needed to plan a meeting with Goldstone. We had that last Wednesday, and Dave updated the janitorial contract as promised. Anything else?
Just one last reminder for the board, DRB, October 4th, on the garage.
Yep, I'll be there.
You'll be there. I
Yeah.
don't think it's necessary that we all
Yeah,
show up.
just so it's out there.
Okay. All right, we need to have an executive session to discuss a personnel issue. Can I have a motion?
So move.
Motion from Art to go into executive session to discuss personnel issues. Seconded by Ken. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye.